Hi viewers, welcome to another video from @Newsworthy Publications. My name is Ben Gray, an amateur journalist where I've lived for the last 20 years, dedicated to exposing egregious corruption within the High Court and Crown Court judiciary, the Avon Somerset Constabulary, Bristol CPS, and many civilians associated with individuals from these organisations. This particular video is entitled Royal Mail Manager Christopher Lambert, Thief, Thug, Thicko and Liar. This video sets out the unbelievable corruption and lies and threats of violence from not only this individual but another individual also from the Royal Mail depot or delivery office that's set in Prospect Place, Whitehall, East Bristol. And this began on the 14th of May 2025 when I received a knock at the door, which was apparently for a straightforward matter where I was just being hand delivered a letter from the CPS involving, in terms of criminal proceedings involving myself and them, which I won't go into at this stage. But needless to say, they didn't need to have sent the letter by recorded delivery because they have my email address, and of course it delays matters if they send matters by post. But in any event, this letter was hand delivered by a man whose name I don't know, a young man, maybe early 30s, fairly short but quite stocky, sunglasses, wraparound sunglasses, short hair. And I opened the door to him, and he was just stood there, didn't say anything, stared at me. He was very close to me. I asked him what he wanted. He said, "Is my name Benjamin?" Well, he asked, "Is your name Benjamin?" And I said, "I don't like being called by my first name. That's quite rude. I don't know you. I find it quite intimidating and harassing." And he handed me the letter. He seemed to have a sort of a device for me to sign for, but he didn't want me to sign for it, even though he was holding this device. And after I told him that I didn't like being called by my first name, he said, "All right then, Benjamin. See you around, Ben. Take it easy, Ben. See you later, Ben." Uh, of this nature several times, deliberately, obviously, because I'd asked him, I told him that it upset me being called by my first name. He said this as he was walking away, and I said to him that I now regarded this as harassment, and that if he came back to my house and harassed me on the inside the doorstep of my family home, I would detain him and wait for the police to turn up to prevent a breach of the police, breach of the peace, and to ensure that the criminal harassment was investigated. He said that I was being aggressive, and he took out his mobile phone as if to call the police. And as he did that, I went back into my house to get my own mobile phone, also to call the police, and to get my camera to record him outside my house. But as I emerged from my house, he'd gone. So I raised the issue as a complaint. But well, first of all, I should add that, or more importantly, perhaps, that I had not received, since that incident, I've not received a parcel that should have arrived some, that was sent on the 8th, so it should have arrived by the 14th, which is obviously nearly a week later. So I was already concerned about that. And then it turned out further mail hadn't been delivered that had been sent around that period. And I raised it by way of a complaint with the um, uh, the, the complaints department that deals with such matters, with the email address here.for.u@royalmail.com. And as we shall find out, they are certainly not here for you, as in the customer. So I sent this email on the 17th, and I said, "Dear sir," I said, "Sir, madam, please assist with the following. At approximately 1100 hours on the 14th of May 25, a young white male postman wearing wraparound reflector sunglasses knocked on my door with a recorded delivery item. He stood very close, etc." So I won't read out that because I've already told you about that at the beginning of this video. I said, "I've already had to complain when post was not delivered in the summer of 23, and I am now concerned post is being withheld again. Almost everything I order on eBay and Amazon arrives at least a week after the estimated delivery, and now one item is 2 weeks overdue, whilst the first class letter due from the court has not arrived. You will forgive me if I suspect that the harassment from the postman on the 14th is connected to the fact that mail is not being delivered or at all is not being delivered at all. You are aware that it is an offence carrying up to 6 months in prison to delay I should have said delay mail, per Section 83(1) of the Postal Service Act 2000. If I have not received the relevant letters and parcels or an explanation as to what has happened to them within the next 2 weeks, I will perforce report the matter to the police. Finally, assuming the postman accepts his conduct, can I please, obviously badly written there, can you investigate his motive and whether he has been bribed or coerced into harassing me? I ask as I am well known to the police and am involved in litigation with them, etc. They often address me as Ben, even when asked not to, and they know it upsets me deeply for personal reasons concerning abuse as a child. In brackets. So, as with the missing post, it cannot be a coincidence that the postman repeatedly used that word after I told him it upset me. I look forward to your assistance. Read the above. Yours sincerely, Ben Gray. So, that was a fairly straightforward complaint. And I received a response from a Miss Jones on the same day, and she gave me a case reference number 05228205, and this is she states sorry, let's just get her name straight. Yes, her name was Rian Jones, and she provided me with the following communication. Thank you for getting in touch with Royal Mail. I was sorry to hear you had a problem with one of our employees. Before I can investigate your concerns, I need some additional information as detailed below. Your full postal address, a contact telephone number, the item's tracking number, attach any video footage of the incident if available. Can you provide this information within 10 working days if you would like to progress the inquiry? Thanks again for your assistance. If you require any further help or information, please visit, etc. So I responded to that straight away. Hello, Miss Jones. Read the information sought. My postal address is, and I've obviously redacted it for this video, my telephone, and I give that as well. No video evidence was made due to the brevity of the incident. The item number for the parcel sent from eBay, again badly written, 8th of May is, and there's the number. However, I would need to contact Westminster Magistrates Court to get proof they sent an urgent document, as I was told about this on the phone. Hope this helps. Yours faithfully, Ben Gray. So I waited to see what happened next, and I got a response from a Mr. Rowlands of this again the same day. Mr. Rowlands responds, and let's just get his full name quickly. His name, sorry, is Alan Rowlands, and he's obviously again from the complaints department. And he wrote to me under the same case reference, Dear Benjamin Gray, I was sorry to hear you had a problem. Before I can investigate your concerns, I need some additional information as detailed below. Can you please confirm there were two members of staff? Can you please provide a description of the delivery staff, height, hair, colour, etc.? Have you been able to find a tracking number for the item that was delivered? Do you have any CCTV of the footage of the staff or van? Please, can you provide this information with 10 working days if you would like to progress your inquiry? Well, as I pointed out in an immediate response to Mr. Rowlands, I had already stated that I didn't have CCTV or any video evidence because of the brevity of the incident. I'd given as much description of the man as I knew as was possible under the circumstances. Of course, they would have known who delivered the mail, so they didn't need a description of him because he was the only. Obviously, there would only be one postman delivering the particular letter, which importantly was sent signed for. So obviously, all the more reason they would know who it was. I'd already explained there was just one member of staff, so why they are asking whether they're two members of staff, again, completely time-wasting nonsense. So I explained all that in a further response, and there's no point in reading that out. I then received no further information, I don't think. Well, I then, sorry, yes, I then, as I said, I responded to Mr. Rowlands explaining what I just said about he's repeating the same questions as he'd already asked earlier. And I wrote him on the 19th again of May, and I said, Mr. Rowlands, further to my communication with your team last week, attached is a PDF that contains the evidence of various items not delivered by Royal Mail this month, to wit, an eBay receipt for a purchase which was dispatched on the 8th of May 25, an email from Utility Warehouse, and the letter from Westminster Magistrates Court, or in fact, court order from the Magistrates Court. So I provided that evidence in a further PDF. As stated, it cannot be a coincidence that firstly I was personally harassed by the Royal Mail postman on the 14th of May on the doorstep of my own house. Secondly, you are not only refusing to investigate this complaint of harassment, but are now harassing me by repeatedly asking me the same questions in order to progress the complaint. And thirdly, letters and parcels are not being delivered to my house within the usual time estimate, if at all. I would expect you to provide some assurance that you will investigate this matter by the end of the week. If I have not had assurance by that time, I will make a formal criminal complaint to the police that you are engaging in deliberately delaying Royal Mail, if not theft, which are serious criminal offences. If the police in turn refuse to investigate the delay, be assured I will attend your Royal Mail depot near me and deploy lawful means to ensure the police attend and investigate by those means. And this just simply got ignored. I received, even though I made it clear that I was going to attend the depot if the police didn't investigate, Mr. Rowlands just simply, therefore, just draws a line under any investigation or any response to my concerns. Um, I then called the police. I'm not sure which date that was. I think that was the on the same day, the 19th, and called 101, and I complained about the original harassment from the mail, but obviously my main concern was the intentional delaying of Royal Mail. I'll just at this stage put up the statute that is under the Section 83(1) of the Postal Services Act 2000 that clearly says, in the clearest terms, that it is a criminal offence to intentionally delay Royal Mail. Um, so far there have been at least three items that were being intentionally delayed, or there was glaring evidence that at least three items were being intentionally delayed by the Royal Mail by the delivery office in East Bristol. So I had no choice but to attend in person on the 19th the depot itself, and I spoke for about 20 minutes or 15 minutes to a Christian Lambert, who is the manager from that office. I explained that I'd called. I should also point out I'd called the complaints number for Royal Mail, and I'd spent nearly an hour on the phone. On the first occasion, I waited about 20-25 minutes, only for somebody to hang up the moment it was answered. And then the second occasion, nobody answered at all, and I gave up after about half an hour. So you clearly have this, before we get on to Christian Lambert and why I say that he's a thug, a crook, and a liar and a thief, um, I should point out that I've gone through the proper channels of complaining, of getting the matter investigated, presumably by some, vaguely independent investigation team at the complaints depot, but they just simply their response to my complaint of, among other things, harassment was to harass me by repeatedly asking me the same questions that I'd already answered in earlier emails, and then just obviously generally make it clear they weren't going to investigate anything. As I say, as a last resort, I spoke to Christian Lambert at about sort of midday on the 19th, and he said he would look into the matter. He said he would look into my complaint about the harassment, the idiot delivery man who would repeatedly use my first name after I'd asked him not to call me by my first name, and he was going to look into missing mail. And I said, "Do you know when I'm likely to get when you could?" I gave him my email address, and I said, "When are you likely to have got some information about this matter?" And he said, I'll definitely call you by the end of today," because he said that it had now been in some cases a week for the items to have gone missing, which was when concerns are justifiably raised with staff about missing mail. bearing in mind the one item was sent on the 8th, so that was now 11 days old, so that was a lot more than a week. I left it at that. He seemed initially friendly and compliant, and that I thought was the end of it. I thought I'd get some information, hopefully get my mail, and I could probably draw a line under this matter. But of course, Mr. Lambert, being the liar that he is, did not email me by the end of the day. So I had to attend the following day. There's a slight correction there. I visited him on the 20th, so it was even later than I'd indicated earlier. Not the 19th; it was the 20th that I attended originally, and first spoke to Mr. Lambert, and he said he would contact me by the end of that day on the 20th. But as he hadn't responded by sort of early morning or late morning rather of the 21st, I visited the delivery office again, and he I went into the courtyard, which was open. It was because it's open to the public until 10 o'clock, and then the public part closes. But the main doors to the courtyard leading, where vans come in and out, was open. So I went in and I called out for Mr. Lambert. He appeared and approached me. Came right into my face, and I'll show you the video.
Hi there. You didn't email me. I haven't had time to go on this with you. Okay. You said a week was.
Yeah, you said your delivery today. So I spoke to the post person.
Yeah.
They felt threatened by your behaviour.
Then that's with the police. Don't come quite close. If you think I'm threatening from your behaviour, then you don't want to come and
you're
stand in my face.
You're not allowed to film me. You're not allowed to film me.
Try stopping me.
I'm not speaking to you. Goodbye, Mr. Gray.
All right, I'll see you when you open up. I'll see you when you open up. I'll see you open up.
You're on trespass on private property.
Call the police then. If he felt threatened, why doesn't he call the police?
Goodbye, Mr. Gray. Has
I want my mail. You better give me my mail!
Goodbye, Mr. Gray.
You better give me my mail!
Goodbye, Mr. Gray.
You're a thief!
You're a thief!
Yeah, please do.
You're done.
I'm gone, am I? Is that a threat of violence?
You're done.
Please.
Calm down.
Police.
Please stand back.
Police.
I'm not harming him. He came into my face.
Calm down.
He's a thief and a liar. He's got my property. Are you seriously saying
you can deliver today? Step away.
Mate, stand back a bit, please. Just stand back a bit.
No, I'm not standing back anywhere. I'm not going to follow him in there. He wants to go in there.
Yeah,
please.
Just keep the peace, because you came civilised yesterday.
I'm civilised today. He came into my face. He makes false allegations, and then he's nicking my post.
Bristol delivery office, Rob.
And there's the number of the other package that's missing. Yeah, please bring them. Ask for Tom Gent. Ask for Inspector Tom Gent.
Sierra 5 Nano.
Of course, I'm not the violent one, mate. I'm allowed to enforce my rights. I can use reasonable force for self-defence and to prevent a crime. This man is a thief and a liar and a crook.
Put your camera down.
No way. What? As you're calling the police, making allegations against me?
You don't have the right to film me.
Of course I do. I can film anywhere. Threatening behaviour, right.
He's filming me. He's trespassing on private property, and I've asked him nicely to leave. Yeah.
And what threatening behaviour? Tell the lady what threatening behaviour I've caused.
You came after me shouting and screaming about.
That's not threatening behaviour.
Yes, it was.
No, it's not.
And you invaded.
What if you're a thief?
And you're following me.
If you're a thief, that's not threatening behaviour.
Go away, Mr. Gray. I've already spoken to you. Now leave.
Please call the police. They won't come when I come. I called them 2 days ago.
Mr. Gray,
I called them 2 days ago.
Yeah, but
I said that I would come here.
Can you hear him?
Please.
I can hear that he's been asked to leave and he's not leaving.
Thank you.
Trespass is a civil matter. If you're going to make a criminal allegation that I threatened you, by all means, I'm filming that's why I film. You came into my face. You came into my personal space. That is threatening behaviour. That is threatening behaviour. And you made false allegations. That is criminal harassment. That is criminal harassment. That is criminal harassment. You made false allegations.
Stop talking to me. Stop following me.
What? Even though you've got my property, even though you're talking over me. You're talking over me. You've got my property.
I don't have to talk with you. Bye.
You don't. You can just steal my property, steal my parcels, steal my packages, lie to my face to say you were going to email me, and I'm the threatening one. Do I come and take your property?
Did I give you a specific time?
Yes, you said you would call me, you would email me by the end of the working day yesterday.
I said I would email you by today.
It's on film.
Listen. It wasn't filmed yesterday. You don't listen. Go away.
I'm not going anywhere. Cool. You can get the police to remove me, and you can give statements to them, and we can have it investigated. No, you're fine. You're totally polite. I've got no problem with you. There's perfectly right to intervene. I'm clearly not threatening him. I filmed the whole thing. He came into my face. He said that I was being threatening to his mate. If I was being threatening, he would have called the police, wouldn't he? And what's that got to do with my packages? If he thinks I'm being threatening, either he calls the police or he delivers my packages. It's the end of, isn't it?
There's no need for this. You know.
But how else do I get my letters back? I came polite. Didn't I come polite? I don't know your name.
Yesterday, you came politely yesterday.
I came politely yesterday, but you weren't here. The initial confrontation with this guy, so you can't say that.
After once I left, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, because I was responding to what he did before you turned up. I was responding. He came right into my face, nose to nose. Well, I'm not going anywhere. I've called the police. I'm perfectly calm. Why doesn't he come? He's been shouting as well. Just because you're wearing the same uniform, you don't have to take his side.
It's not. It's just I see yesterday the different lights.
It's nothing to do with. But that's why we have the police. I'm not assaulting anybody. I'm not made any threats of violence. I'm not swearing. Yeah, no, I was. Yes, because
I'm on anybody's side. I'm just trying.
But I have to do what's reasonable to get my property, don't I?
I totally get it.
It's a criminal offence to withhold, intentionally delay mail. He hasn't told me why the mail was deliberately. He said he was going to investigate.
You've got your camera.
I'm talking to him. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you round the corner, right? You see what I mean? I'm talking to you, and he's now shouting at me.
I believe
I'm not walking away. I'll stay on here until the police turn up.
It almost feels like, you see, when you accuse someone, like you couldn't point the finger at the manager saying that he took the part. It wasn't him.
He was going to investigate what had happened. He was going to explain in an email. He told me. I said I gave him a chance. If he was going to say tomorrow. I wouldn't have turned up until tomorrow, right? He said he was going to email me that evening and tell me what has happened to my mail, whether it's being intentionally withheld. He was going to investigate that. He comes right in, and when he doesn't email me, as promised, he stands right into my face. He goes, "You were aggressive." He doesn't explain he doesn't say what's happened to the package, whether it's being intentionally withheld. I've got mail going back to the 8th. I've just given him the number.
Whether it's been found or.
But he knows that. All I know is that he said that within a working week of not having a response, of mail not being delivered, that would prompt an investigation as to what's happened to it. He said he was going to investigate it.
But wouldn't the investigation start from yesterday?
No, he said, because the mail was supposed to. Some of the mail is now 3 weeks old, right? So it was on the 8th. So that has gone missing. That still hasn't been resolved. Then there's been other letters that have not arrived that are over a week old. He said if it was after a week, he would have concerns. And he told me in good faith that he was going to investigate why it's being withheld. If he said to me that there was an oversight or there's some bureaucratic problem, and it's a bit of a coincidence that he's making false allegations on behalf of his mate that I was aggressive, that I threatened him.
I have nothing to do with that.
No, I'm explaining to you. But aren't you interested? You work with this.
I believe in any company like DPD or anything. You wouldn't get results within 24 hours.
I don't know what you mean by results. All I know, I came yesterday. I spoke to him. He said he would investigate whether my mail was being withheld intentionally and let me know by email. I gave him my email address, and he said he would let me know by the end of the day. He didn't email. That's a lie. So he lied about saying he was going to send me an email. When I turned up just now, he walked straight into my face and said, "You were being threatening to this guy," made a false allegation. I know exactly, that's my point. And I'm going to respond to that. And he hasn't explained. If he explained to me why the mail hadn't arrived, why 3 lots of mail has not been delivered over 3 weeks, and it can't be a coincidence that the guy that was the postman is not.
So there we can see the conduct. His colleague, who was very calm, but obviously taking the side of Mr. Lambert about who was at fault. Obviously, because he was his colleague. The mail that arrived later, the gentleman of colour, was not present. Obviously, at the initial altercation with Mr. Lambert, and of course, as Mr. Lambert was his manager, it wasn't really for him to decide who was in the rights or the wrongs of the situation. But I was prepared to speak to his colleague rather than carry on arguing with Mr. Lambert, in the hope that might resolve matters. But obviously, I didn't get anywhere with that, and I eventually I had a choice because Mr. Lambert, as you've seen and heard, called the police, and tried to make it out that I was threatening him, whereas of course the video proved that he had originally been threatening me by approaching my personal space and then making false allegations that I had threatened out of any context the postman. And of course, I'd only turned up at all because Mr. Lambert had lied about saying that I would get an email by the end of the day. And if he'd sent an email explaining what had happened to my mail and why isn't being delivered, then of course I would never have had to have turned up at all. So I was in two minds about waiting for the police to arrive. I was prepared to be arrested if necessary, because of course, if I'm arrested for a prompt investigation, then that would of course mean that the complaint of uh, the missing mail, which is itself an offence, would be sorted out. And just to clarify, I did call the police, and they refused to investigate. I'll play the footage. I'll play the sound recording that I made of the 101 call to the police, and if I've got it available. And but in any event, she says. That the 101 police operator says they wouldn't. She'd spoken. She kept me on hold. She went to speak to a supervisor. She wouldn't tell me the name of the supervisor, but she said that the police would not investigate. That I should complain internally to the Royal Mail, and if I didn't get anywhere with that, I should go to Citizens Advice. Apart from anything else, Citizens Advice do not investigate criminal offences, such as offences under Section 83 of the Postal Services Act. And in any event, I've tried to contact Citizen Service just as a sort of side point, and you can't get through to them. They don't seem to operate in any way by phone or by personally visiting their offices. But I mean that's irrelevant because, of course, the Citizens Advice do not investigate criminal offences. So uh, as I say, I'd only had to approach Mr. Lambert at all because the police wouldn't investigate, and because Mr. Rowlands from the internal investigation department of Royal Mail wouldn't investigate either. But in any event, the police didn't become involved, and then I received a letter on the 23rd of May, or dated the 23rd of May. I think, yes, it was on the morning of the 23rd. So I heard the delivery at the door at my on my doormat, and I thought, oh, at last they've agreed to start delivering my mail. Hooray! I can now draw a line under this. I can move on with my life because, of course, if I can't get my mail, then of course that becomes the only thing I can be concerned about. I went to the doorstep. I went to my front door. There was just a single letter from Royal Mail itself, from Mr. Lambert himself, in which he states the following. He says that my mail has been, let's start from the beginning. The title of the letter is Dear Mr. B. Gray. A bit odd that he's calling me dear, as if we're sort of, again, as if I haven't accused him of serious crime, which I did, obviously, on the 21st or the 22nd. But in any event, suspension of deliveries due to unacceptable behaviour. So my behaviour was unacceptable. His, of course, was not. Even though, of course, he's the one who's causing a criminal offence by delaying my mail, as well as harassing me and threatening me, as he was clearly doing by his conduct, as can be seen on the footage. Further to the incident, he goes on to say, when you attended our caller's office on 21st of 05/25, during which Royal Mail staff were subjected to unacceptable abusive behaviour, I am writing to advise that you are no longer welcome to attend our office. Well, I didn't feel particularly welcome when I attended anyway. But moving on. In addition, he says, to this and further to the incident on the 14th of May 25, where one of my staff was subjected to threatening and abusive behaviour whilst attempting delivery at your address. I have no choice but to suspend deliveries to your address. So dealing with the man who attended my house on the 14th, there's no suggestion that he's investigated whether my original complaint, that he had been repeatedly referring to me by my first name when I told him it upset me and that I found it offensive, is being investigated. So even if I had been threatening towards him and I didn't abuse him, it's true I threatened to detain him if he continued with the harassment, is ignored. So he's taken it out of any context and just referred to, he's stated as fact that I was abusive to him, and I wasn't. I merely did threaten him with detaining him if he continued with the harassment. Um, so this the my complaint has not been investigated. So my complaint as the client or the customer of Royal Mail is of no interest to Mr. Lambert, and all he does is out of context make an allegation against me as if it is a fact, an established fact, as if he is judge, jury, and executioner. Um, and he's doing all three, of course. Of course, he's the judge. He's decided that I'm guilty of a matter before I've even been charged or investigated for anything, and he's actually punishing me by saying he's going to withhold my mail because he's already decided, regardless of the actual facts of the matter and regardless of him ignoring my original complaint to him about the man on the 14th, the postman of the 14th, he's going to suspend my mail. And I'll come back to that anyway. So these restrictions will remain in place until remain in place. So he's obviously made a boo-boo there, but it will remain in place until I receive assurances from you that your behaviour or language cannot in future be construed as either derogatory, threatening, or in any other way unacceptable towards my staff. Specifically, I will need these assurances from you in writing. In the meantime, I am able to offer you the following options regarding access to your mail, which are for you to nominate either an alternative address in the area for us to deliver your mail, or someone to collect for you with the appropriate ID. Please either provide your written assurances via the details above, or let me know which option you would prefer to be put in place. Royal Mail is committed to providing a consistent daily service, but we do also place the highest priority on safety and security of all our employees. Thank you very much in anticipation for your cooperation in this matter. Christian Lambert, with the signature Royal Mail Customer Operations Manager, Bristol East Delivery Office. Well, of course, let's look at this is why I called him thick as much as anything else, because clearly, if he's already, first of all, if he's already colluding in withholding my mail, i.e., committing a serious criminal offence, it's hardly going to be much of a threat that he's going to withhold my mail, because the entire incident revolved around my mail being withheld. If my mail hadn't been withheld, I would never have known Mr. Lambert from a hole in the ground. So that's complete nonsense. In terms of any suggestion that I was a threat to the safety of him or his colleagues in terms of delivering at my address, well, the street I live on is extremely narrow. I obviously brush past on the narrow streets of where I live, post workers on an almost daily basis. So what difference would it make whether they came to my front door and delivered a letter, or they were delivering letters on either side of my door, and I happened to um, and I would have to have dealings with them in any event. So it's obviously they're not going to avoid me or my physical presence simply by not delivering my letter, because we're going to bump in. I'm going to bump into Royal Mail workers almost on a daily basis in any event. So he's talking absolute nonsense. And of course, if he's already withholding the mail, what kind of threat is it? As I say, what kind of threat is it to say that he's going to withhold my mail further? And of course, he doesn't explain whether he accepts why the mail wasn't being delivered before I'd even approached Mr. Lambert. He accepted when I spoke to him, I think on the 20th, that if mail hadn't been delivered after a week, there was cause for concern and it would be investigated. For the avoidance of doubt, I also provided him with the proof of delivery number for the package that was sent on the 8th. And of course, the package, rather than the letter, actually contained valuable item, which hasn't been delivered at all. So that's, again, evidence not merely of the criminal offence of delaying mail, but in fact actually theft, because it hasn't been returned to the sender, to the company that provided me with the item, and I haven't received it, and somebody else has clearly made off with it. Um, so he's not provided it. The whole point of him investigating on the 20th, that his agreement to investigate was to find out why the mail hadn't been delivered up until then. Of course, up until then, there hadn't been any ban or threatened suspension of non-delivery, which was only made on the 23rd. So he's already colluding in why the mail was being deliberately delayed, or what evidence there was that it was being intentionally delayed up until I visited his office. Um, Bearing in mind, he himself, as just at the risk of repetition, he himself had said that after a week there would be concern that it was being intentionally withheld, which is why he was going to investigate at all. So that's more or less the end of it. We can see the extent of corruption within. This is just another sort of facet of the corruption that all flows down. It all flows down originally, of course, from the High Court judges such as Judge Warby, paedophile judge, no question about it, Judge Adrian Fulford, Lord Justice Adrian Fulford, Lord Justice William Davis, all of these judges who have connived in the torture and kidnapping, etc., by the police and the CPS. Over the last 20 years, that they've now imposed what's called a civil proceedings order against me, which prevents me litigating any matter. So rather than just go to the courts, as I would ordinarily have done, and threaten them with legal action to pursue the matter, and the same with the police. If the police refuse to investigate, pursue them through the courts. Of course, all I'm left with is to get involved in these confrontations and spiraling situations, by dealing with the matter personally without any involvement of the police at all. It is the modus operandi, the policy of the police of the Avon Somerset Constabulary to refuse to investigate any complaint, whether it's attempted murder, theft of post, you name it. Any allegation I make will not be investigated, even if it's an ongoing matter that may well spiral into some form of public order incident or something like that, they will leave it to fester and prod and poke at it to try and inflame it into a more serious allegation, which will then lead for me to have to be arrested, almost certainly result in my being arrested, and then having as part of my defense to justify my conduct on the basis that the police have orchestrated the offence in the first place.